is Libby Road and the Sound Epistemology Podcast. The following exercise is an experiment in which I attempt to have a productive street epistemology conversation without knowing the claim. For those who are not aware of street epistemology, it can be defined as a process of using productive and compassionate conversation tools that encourage us to respectfully and consensually explore the sufficiency of the reasons and the reliability of the methods a conversation partner uses to support their level of confidence that a belief, conclusion, or assumption is likely true or accurate. It can also be defined as a movement that encourages our communities to engage in this exercise with each other and with ourselves. You might find that a typical SE conversation includes both parties being aware of the claim. But in this particular experiment, we're demonstrating the importance of focusing not on the truth of the claim, but how the interlocutor arrived at their confidence level that the claim is true. This helps me remove my views and biases while exploring my conversation partner's epistemology. Check it out. Hey, how's it going?
What's up? Good. David, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Welcome to this room.
Thank you very much. Are you still up for another round of it, or you're just wrapping up the room?
No, anybody can do one today. I don't have anybody in particular that I scheduled to do this with. So, um, would you like to find out if your confidence in a hidden claim is justified?
Yeah, why not? Let's do this.
Awesome. So, I have a couple of recommendations for your claim that you want to bring.
Okay.
And this is just because it's already a challenge to not have the claim being known. And so I'm just using these recommendations to make it easier on everyone. So um, the first one is that the claim needs to be a statement or a conclusion about the world that we share. Uh, is that okay? Does that match so far?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, cool. Um, it needs to be a conclusion that you hold in high confidence, like what you would consider high confidence. Are we still okay there?
Yes.
Okay, cool. It's best if you phrase it in a positive form. And what I mean by that is if your claim is aliens are not real, it would be best if you phrased it as aliens are fake.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So
Okay.
sorry, I'm slow in my responses because I'm also mulling it over as I say it.
No, take your time. Perfect. Um, it's best if the claim affects your behavior.
Okay. Okay,
Good
got
so
it.
far?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, whenever I ask you about your main reason,
Mm-hmm.
it's best if you can be as general as possible so as to not reveal what the claim is, and that's going to be the hardest part. The
Yes,
rest
that's
of it's
exactly what I was thinking. Yes, because
yeah,
I think
yeah.
like I've jotted down at least one claim which qualifies the criteria that you just shared, and I can replay it back to you just to ensure that we are on the same page.
Okay.
All right. So
Per-
so the first criteria was that it should be about our shared reality or the world
yeah,
as we know it. That's
yeah,
one. Two was if it should be in a positive statement form rather than a lack of belief of something, right? Or,
right.
not being sure about something, but rather something that I am confident about. For example, my 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 sofa in the living room is black, for example, right?
Hmm.
Something that is about this world that we live in, and and then something that affects my behavior. That's the third thing that you said, right? So
Yeah.
the actual claim that I'm thinking about, it absolutely does. I think it affects my day-to-day conversations, my attitude, my aptitude, and everything else. Um, but okay, yeah,
Okay.
yes,
We're good
I
so
think there
far?
might be some challenges, yes, but I'm interested in seeing how this unfolds.
Cool. Um, Another recommendation is if if you're willing to have your mind changed if given sufficient reasons.
Yes, I am
Okay, you're open to being mistaken about this.
correct.
Okay. All right. Cool. So another thing I wanted to mention was the objective of this is not for me to guess what the claim is. It's an experiment to demonstrate if I can have a productive street epistemology conversation without knowing the claim.
Understood.
And that's going to help me with practice, and it's also going to focus the importance on focusing on the way you arrived at confidence in this claim, not on whether the claim is true. And so not knowing the claim the theory is it'll help me keep my views about it out, and my bias about it out as much as possible, because I can't be biased about something if I don't know what the claim is. So that's kind of the idea.
Understood. Yes, makes sense.
Cool. Awesome.
I have to confess though, so far I am biased that I have a harder job here than you.
Yes, this is way easier for me than it is for you.
Right, because I have
That's
to
my
protect the
experience.
claim constantly, right? So let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And are you okay if I record this and upload it to my YouTube channel?
I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so think about the claim, and if you can put your confidence level on a scale from 0 to 100, meaning 0 is no confidence, only questions, 100% is no questions, only confidence. Where would you put yourself on that scale regarding this claim being true?
97.
97.
Yep.
Okay. All right. How important is it for your conclusions to align with reality?
Can you elaborate on that question a little more?
Sure. How important is it for you to be believing true statements?
I think it is at the same level, 97, on a scale of
97.
0 to 100. Yes, I would
Okay,
say so.
great. Um, how much does this claim affect your behavior?
I think it affects my behavior almost half of the time in my um, day-to-day job and my interactions with other people.
Okay, so
So
half.
50%.
Okay, okay. This is going to be the hardest one. Um, without without revealing what the claim is, what is your main reason for thinking that this claim is true to a level of 97%?
Right. So give me maybe a minute to articulate that in a way that it protects the claim, like it hides the claim the way it's supposed to be, and still
Yeah, I
makes
can
a
give
true
you an
statement, right?
example of that, something that
Sure,
might
I'd love
help.
that. I'd love
So,
that. Yeah.
if we were exploring a claim that um, that somebody walked on water,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying because of what Matthew, whatever the verse is,
Right.
you could just say something like scripture. Scripture is the main reason. And
Understood.
so that's a little bit more general than pointing at a specific verse. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, it does make sense. I can take a stab at it. I think there is not one single reason. So in terms of multiple reasons, without the order being reflective of the importance of the reason, I would give you a couple or maybe three reasons. Okay.
I need
The
I would like the reason that holds the most weight.
okay. Um, that is a little bit hard for me to think. Let me say it out, and then maybe we can align our understanding on that. Okay.
Okay,
And you
cool.
might be able to help me, um,
Sure.
reorient my approach to putting importance or weight on these reasons.
Okay.
So, my first reason is my own experience as I progress through life. And for the same kind of statement, I think I started, if I go back 25 years ago, I would be standing, on a maybe on a 10 or maybe on a 20, right? And as I've progressed through life, there was not one event that converted it from being 820 to a 97 at one go, but rather the journey that I took through my life in various domains, personal, professional, and whatever other domains there can be, relationships, so on. Um, it, something complemented that I'm not, something complemented the idea or the claim that I have right now. So every time it was like, it was, the scale shifted from 20 to 97 in maybe increments of five over a period of 20 years. And I have yet, in my experience, to see anything that contradicts that. That's one. Okay. The second reason is because I'm very much interested in having these kind of discussions, reading philosophy, reading, arguments, trying to understand arguments. Um, I have never come across a book that contradicts it. Maybe there are books that um, complement it, but they do not contradict it.
Okay.
Um, the third reason is maybe indirectly I can find some religious books that contradict it, but since I've lost faith and I'm not a man of belief, I'm not a person of faith. That means, you know, that if something contradicts it and it's coming from a religious text or a scripture, it doesn't really hold water for me to go back on the scale from 97 to 90 or whatever. Does that give you a little bit of a coherent picture of how I'm looking at it?
Yes. My takeaway from that was your three reasons are basically personal experience over time, not one particular event, but
Correct.
a collection of personal experiences.
Correct. And I think the key there is that if you look at the collective of those experiences, you can think of me as approaching all those experiences with a being at a scale of 20, and
Mhm.
every experience pushed me towards the positive instead of like there is not one experience that brought me one step backwards on the journey.
Yeah. And all or most of those experience have the same amount of chunk,
Correct.
basically, and you said are like
That is
20%
right.
or so. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so personal experiences. And then reason number two was basically lack of evidence that contradicts it.
Correct. I think I would now I have a better sentence to call it to say it, right? So the second one is appeal to authority, and when I talk about authority, I'm referring to people who I've considered, people of reason and intellect. They can be coming from different walks of life, but mainly philosophers, authors, scientists. and just people who who seem to be using their common sense and logic and reason um, more than following any dogma.
Okay. And then the third reason was the sources that do contradict it are religious texts or religious sources, and you don't put a whole lot of weight into that kind of evidence.
Correct. So let me refine that too.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I can make a claim that there are certain religious sources that would contradict it. What I'm saying is, in order to test, basically validate this claim, um, I have not referred to religious texts or scriptures in extensive detail. And the reason is because I know that even if I find something, I'm not going to be able to, because of my own personal bias, at this time, not going to be able to give it weight, right? Like I can't look at a verse from a holy scripture and say, because this verse seems to stand in contradiction with what I believe, I should basically go from 97 to 90, right?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, you're
Right.
basically saying that um, because you don't want to appeal to religious texts, that is one of the reasons
Exactly.
why this claim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But what I'm
Cool.
saying is I have appealed to a number of other texts from, and these people were from all different walks of life, you know, family and friends, regular people, philosophers, scientists, authors who write about different
Hmm.
subjects, and even in my, personal life. All of them, the collective of them, I'm, putting them under the umbrella of authority, just like you walk into a doctor's clinic and take the first medicine they prescribe without questioning much, right? So that's how I'm saying. So first, my personal experience. Two, appeal from authority, and the authority has this plethora of different kinds of people, intellectuals, and you know, uh, common friends.
Hmm. If we had a pie and we had three pieces of pie, and each of these reasons is one of those pieces, which which reason would be the biggest piece?
Personal experience.
Okay. Would it be okay with you if we focused on that?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Um, how much does this reason affect your confidence?
A lot, I
How
would
big
say.
is the piece of?
Um, so I would say, let me think about this. So let's say all these three pieces, out of that, maybe this would be the size of, you know, so let's give a value of one to the appeal to authority, right?
Hmm.
Then this would be two. Basically, because I think the way I'm listing the reasons, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're basically mainly two reasons, right? One is personal experience, and then two is appeal to authority, right? So I'm not able to drive it, like I'm thinking of only two pieces, right? Two parts of my
Okay.
reasoning, right? And
Okay.
I'm saying appeal to authority, if you give it the value of one, then my personal experience holds the value of two. So it's double the size of the other
Okay.
reason.
Gotcha. So that would be like um yeah, like if we were it's twice as heavy, the
Correct.
reason.
Correct.
The personal okay, got it. Okay. Um why is personal experiences a good reason?
Because I think as much as you can question it, you cannot deny it.
Okay. Deny the
Right. So
experience
so
or
the experience,
deny
the
what you're
experience.
attributing it to?
Um, so first off, first and foremost, I think the experience itself, right? And an example would be you being in pain, right? You can question, is it me just hallucinating or seeing a dream, right? But
Uh-huh.
in whatever case, if the experience is a painful experience, right? Um, you cannot deny that you felt that pain, right?
Hmm.
And then in a second order, style, you would associate a certain meaning to it. Um, Again, I think I read this somewhere, and this was very powerful to me, that our minds are um, meaning machines, right? Which means that it's our minds that that associate meaning to different things and interpret things in different ways. I don't think I have a way around that, right? Automatically, I would associate some understanding, some meaning to it, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is because I cannot deny my experience, right? I can find ways of being skeptical about it and question everything. I can question if I'm even talking to David on Clubhouse right now. But I cannot deny the experience that I'm having, right? I can question your existence. I can think of you as a figment of my own imagination, but there would be no point where I would be able to honestly deny that I'm having this experience, right? So it becomes so real, so undeniable. So I'm either basing off my beliefs or my concepts or my interpretations on things that I have not experienced, but only known through different sources of information. Or the other bucket is things that I've experienced myself, right? So these are the two buckets which hold different pieces of information,
Hmm.
based on which I form opinions and beliefs, correct? So what I'm saying is the one bucket of experience is much more uh, difficult for me to deny than the first bucket.
Yeah. Would you say that um, attributing a personal experience, attributing something um, and basing that on a personal experience, is there any separation there? Like, can can somebody can somebody arrive at a false conclusion and base that conclusion on a personal experience?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned like religious books or whatever earlier. Um, if somebody arrived at a religious conclusion and based it on a personal experience, would that be a good reason for them to be 98 or 97% confident that what they're attributing that personal experience to is uh, accurate?
That is a great question. So I think there's a caveat to my explanation which I would like to add at this point, right?
Sure.
So I'm not talking about one experience, which is why it was really important when I initially explained it, that over a
Hmm.
period of 20 years, multiple experiences in multiple domains, right? So there's diversity of all sorts here, right? So if for 20 years somebody keeps having experiences that one after another basically show them a proof of the truthfulness of a religious scripture, then yes, absolutely, they should be at a 97 level of confidence for that.
Okay. So you're saying that the amount of personal experiences adds to the
The
adds
amount,
a-
so let me put it in more clear terms, right? I think it would help. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, I think.
No, you're fine.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
so I'm saying this. Number one, the amount, okay? Number two, the frequency, all
Hmm.
right? And number three, the diversity. All right. So
Okay.
amount, frequency, and diversity of experience. Number four, the length of time. So this is not all happening within 1 hour. This is happening over 20 years. So that matters too. Okay.
Okay.
And with looking at all of this collective and finding no contradictory experience within my personal experience, right?
Hmm.
I
Okay.
think that is a good enough reason for being 97% sure of something.
Okay. Yeah, the amount of the experiences, the frequency, the diversity, and the range of time in which these experiences happen.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Um, is there a way to test? this claim to see if it's true or not?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there a way to
I
tell
can.
if this, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I should have maybe added that in the. So that is the second piece of the reasoning, right? Which is complementary. It's not really a separate piece. So I think that's something that I should have explained better. So when you say your list of reasons and think of them as pieces of pie, now
Yeah.
that I'm thinking of it in my worldview of this, where this claim stems from, these are not two separate pieces of pie. Basically, my personal experience is supported by another layer of pie under it, right? So it's like a pizza. The so you can think of my personal experiences as the foundation, or supported by other things. I'm actually
Okay.
butchering the analogy, but what I'm trying to say that I'm not able to visualize them as two separate pieces belonging to two separate domains. I'm saying, my same experiences, and then I've talked to a plethora of people, and I've read a number of books from a diverse area of, diverse population of people, I would say, right? And they can even be religious people, non-religious people, scientific people. They can be all sorts of people, but on this one claim they agreed with me every single time, right? So I've not even found resistance in my regular interactions, right? I I'm really thinking far back, and I don't think I've ever come across someone who um, can be seen as a coherent, respectable person by even a small group of people who would have challenged this claim. In fact, all of them complimented it. Does it make any sense? So I'm saying
Yes.
that I have actually gone out and tried to see that, sure, let's put the personal experience on the side. Has somebody in their personal experience, or because of their reasoning or intellect or whatever, felt differently, but they did not?
Okay. You're basically saying, and correct me if this isn't what you're saying, but it sounds like what you're saying is that the test is the personal experiences, and that is a sufficient test.
So I'm saying that I'm saying there's personal experiences that to me are more important because of the reason that I explained earlier, that you cannot deny your personal experiences.
Hmm.
But when sharing the result of those personal experiences, or the belief that or the claim that I drive from those personal experiences, it does not meet any challenge or criticism from from a plethora of people, right? So all of them complement it. So
Hmm.
there can be a person who comes from X walk of life, then there can be a person who comes from Y domain of profession, then there can be a person Z coming from a completely different, socioeconomic or geographic region, and they would say basically, yeah, actually, you're right about this. So they would come to that conclusion in different ways, their experience, their readings, this or that. But when it comes to the claim, they complemented it.
Okay. And is this is this the test, or is the test something separate than
No, this
this?
is the test. This is the verification validation test, right? So I would say I can easily say that, if not more, at least 97% of the people coming from different domains of life, or different domains of profession, or different socioeconomic conditions, uh,
Hmm.
you know, agreed with me on this one single claim.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I am not seeing any challenge, right? You see what I'm saying? My personal experiences are bringing me to a 97 level of that claim. The
Hmm.
3% I'm leaving is basically I'm just being charitable in a way, right? And I'm being open that, I can, because I think I know I can be wrong in a number of ways, right? And the first way is to find out, uh, let's say I have a racial bias against someone, right? It will be very easy for me to find a good amount of people who would challenge me on that. And that's how we would get into a dialogue. And then that's how I would maybe you don't understand some of the things better and say, yeah, it doesn't seem that I'm right about it. Correct?
Hmm.
But if you're making a claim for which it's almost like you're going out and asking people and talking about it constantly, but they all seem to be agreeing with you, then isn't
Hmm.
that a kind of validation?
It sounds like what's partly holding up support or supporting your confidence is what you hear from other people.
Right. Yes, because like I said, I am open to the fact that my own experience can be wrong about it, right?
Hmm.
So I don't want to just leave it there. I'm certainly giving it a lot of weight. That's my default position, but I'm willing to challenge my default position. But that challenge seems to be unavailable.
Got it. Okay. Um, is there a way to tell that this claim is not true?
Yes,
Okay. You have a way to know if you were wrong about this.
correct. Very clear
Okay.
way, I think, that can be
Got it.
demonstrated.
All right. Do you have any criteria that would raise your confidence about this, say from 97 to 98 or, higher?
No, I think the kind of person I am, I would always leave 3% room for anything, right? So this is basically the highest level of confidence that I would take myself to for anything.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So there's nothing out, there's no information out there that you could learn that would raise your confidence about this.
No,
Is
yes,
that
because any piece of information would be additional information. It will still keep me at 97. I would always leave the question mark, the tiny question mark of that 3%. Always,
mm, no matter what information you're given?
no matter what information I'm given.
Okay. Um, are you aware of any criteria that would lower your confidence?
Yes, like I said, I think in my mind at least, there's a clear way of showing that my claim is not true. It does not reflect the reality. Then, based on that, it can at least, if it's good enough, it can bring me down to a zero, or at least reduce it.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. And do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't think so. I don't have any questions, but I'd like to know, like, what do you think? Did you get enough pieces of information that you require to test the strength of the ship, like you put it?
Well, that's really up to you because you're the one that holds the claim. It's not my job to test it. Um, I'm basically here to offer a way for you to think more deeply about the epistemology and the sufficiency and the soundness of the epistemology that you're using to arrive at this level of confidence.
Right.
So do you feel like you have a better understanding of how you arrived at this conclusion and the confidence in it?
Yes, absolutely. And I should thank you for that. This was a very interesting exercise. And now that you've kind of, thank you for, um, explaining what you just explained, that this is not your job to say this ship is strong or not. It's basically for me to understand. So, in light of that, I can basically ask one follow-up question at least. And that
Sure.
question would be, what would you say is a validation technique or method to verify the strength of your ship?
Yeah. I think I think focusing on where the weak points are and not where the strong points are. That is more valuable information for me to tell if my ship is solid. In other words, information that confirms my belief is not as important as information that would disconfirm it.
So would you say that lack of information that disconfirms or challenges your belief is a good reason to stick at a level of 97 or a high level of confidence?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think um, it's funny because we were talking about this with the previous person. I think in order to be 97% confident in something, I need to have a way to tell if it's not true. And I think that's what you said you had earlier.
Correct.
You have
Yes.
ways of knowing if it was not true. You have a way to tell you have criteria that would lower your confidence. So um yeah, I would I we would be on the same page about that.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, this helps. This greatly helps me as well to see my own point of view in a with a different approach, from a different lens. And this was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind revealing my claim at this point if that's part of the exercise.
Yeah, you can reveal it. I have to say, I am not any closer to know, to knowing what it is. And yeah, it's up to you if you want to reveal it. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, just out of
So,
curiosity,
yeah,
go
this
for it.
was because this is I didn't do it on purpose, but I have to for full disclosure, right? So that everybody knows I wasn't trying to play any games, right?
Hmm.
It was more of a abstract kind of claim, but about the real world. And the claim is as follows. It's basically the underlying philosophy of my life. The claim is as follows. The unknown is always greater than the known.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. That kind of makes me think of something I was kind of going over a few days ago, and that is most statistically speaking, most beliefs are false.
I didn't know that actually. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yep, yep, I hear you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that statistically most beliefs are false. I'd like to see like where like how that is confirmed or shown.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, we used to believe that, and reasonably, we used to believe that the Earth was flat, right? But we've updated that, so that
Correct.
belief was false.
Correct.
And so over time, uh, statistically, if that pattern follows, then it's reasonable to think that most conclusions or most beliefs um, are not accurate.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. But I think my belief or my claim is kind of supportive of that in a way, right? Because that's exactly what I'm saying, right? You as
Right.
you find one thing, it reveals with it a package of more questions, right? So
Yeah.
in any science or any study, right, or even art like music, right? I've heard it. So that's where I was saying, that I've confirmed it with people from so many different domains, right? So it can be a person of religion who would say, I started reading scripture at the age of 10, and I thought it's only so simple, and now that every time I read it again, something new came to me, right? Something new jumped at me, right? Similarly with the artist, right? Somebody who starts playing chords on a guitar, and then as they progress in their journey and they basically start playing jazz improvisation at one point, they would tell you like there's so much more to explore. Like so science is the same, right? People would tell you, yes, we know better now, but Rutherford model still is, not the most precise model. It's like as close as accurate as it gets, but it's not, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, at one point we said this is our universe, and now we say this is our observable universe. And I think that is the biggest statement and compliment to my belief from the scientific community, that they
Yeah.
eventually gave up on even defining what the limits of universe is, because they say, it's just always. So if you just take the universe and align it with my example, you would see how true that is, right?
Yeah.
We do not have the capacity to travel, at certain lengths of this universe. And if we cannot access that part of the universe, absolutely, we don't know what's there. The dark matter, dark energy consumes most of us, right? Um, Not most of us. I made a bad statement there, but what I meant was a big part of our universe, right? And there are theories about it, but we don't know. So the sentence that I don't know, we don't know, right? The idea of not knowing the self, right? Even people who are neuroscientists, right? If you listen to Sam Harris, he would say, you know, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, but when it comes to, or I do believe in that, but when it comes to the idea of identity or the self, he says, I'm completely agnostic, because so far we don't know, right?
Hmm.
So as we have progressed in the history of science, philosophy, and so on, I think what we have understood, sorry for that. So I think as we have progressed in different disciplines of study and inquiry, what we found is what once was thought of as fundamental or basic, even that had so many hidden layers of knowledge that has only told us how little do we know.
Yeah. The list of things that we don't know is much longer than the list of things we know.
Correct, right? And for my personal
Yeah.
experience, it has always increased, and I've always, heard something that complements that, nothing that challenges it.
Hmm. Marquis, this was fantastic. It was really awesome to talk to you again. I do have Daniel that wants to come up, and so if it's okay
Absolutely,
with
yeah, I'll
you,
move myself down. Thank you very much. This was amazing.
absolutely, yeah, no problem. And thanks again for participating and helping me practice. I appreciate it. And there you have it. I'm interested in what you think about this experiment. You can find us on the Clubhouse discussion app, in the Street Epistemology Club, the Sound Epistemology Facebook group, on Twitter at SND Epistemology, and other links posted in the description. Until next time, keep asking questions.